all of us are on different paths that are somehow intertwining into this most magnificent
Yes.
creation of a larger collective, which has all of us utilizing our special gifts. Every one of you listening and watching, you have a beautiful gift to share with the world, a God given gift. You probably have many of them. And
Hmm.
you are an integral part of the creation of all that is. God only makes perfect things. God only makes masterpieces. God only makes perfection. And God only makes unique, wonderful things. You are beautiful and glorious. God only makes beautiful and glorious things. So see yourself that way, and
Hmm.
also condition your mind to see the world that way.
Introducing The Vixen Voice, a podcast for ambitious women entrepreneurs ready to move into their feminine essence, live their truth, and unlock their full potential. I'm your host, April Roberts, and each week I'll be interviewing inspiring women who decided to take a leap of faith to pursue their dream. Women who believe that they were born for something bigger. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Vixen Voice. So today is a very special day. You know, it's rare that we have masculine energy on this podcast, but today we have Daniel Prok, who is an actor, filmmaker, and author of all 7 books of Heaven on Earth. And kind of my favorite I love to listen to is the Book of Love. So we're going to dig in, but, you know, I thought it was important to have Daniel here with us because, as you know, I always promote how can we show up more in love each day with ourselves and with those around us. And I really feel that the world needs more love today. And Daniel and his work is all about love. He was introduced to me by Marilyn Preble. She's been on the show
Yeah,
before. She's one of my healer friends.
she's
So we
amazing.
train for healing together. Yeah, Daniel loves her.
Yeah.
And so she just, after we did an episode, she said, "You have to talk to Daniel. I share his book with all my clients, like just chat." And, you know, we hopped on one time and we were just fast friends because our missions on earth are so aligned. So, Daniel, it's such an
Yeah.
honor to have you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
It's so cool. So let's kind of dive right in. I love this. You're an actor, you're a filmmaker, and you're an author of all of these books. Like you're quite prolific when it comes to your books. So how did all of these different roles come about? Like what's your passion for each and why are they important to you?
It's a great question. I grew up in a big family with 7 kids, and we were taught to
Nice.
study hard, get good grades, do all that. And I did all that. And then I went to college and became a mechanical engineer, and I worked in aerospace for a few years. And
Mm-hmm.
I really disliked slash hated every day of it. It was just like, oh man, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And years later, I moved to San Diego and I started taking a free acting class that I found in a magazine
Mm-hmm.
and like in the classified ads. Because that was my passion. I wanted to make funny movies with my brother. And that's still
I
like
love
in
it.
my passion compartment of my life is acting, make funny movies, put a good vibe out into the world, make people laugh. And then this author, being an author, that was not my plan. That was God's plan. Because
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd write a book. I was like, okay, I'm on this trajectory, acting and pursuing that and going for it. And then in 2020, with the lockdowns and all that stuff, I, living in La Jolla, where I live, San Diego area, I was like, I got to get out of here. Um, and where I live is probably one of the most peaceful places
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. It's right by the beach. It's just perfect. But at that time, it was this oppressive energy everywhere. And I was like,
Yeah.
get me out of here. So I went to Sedona, and went there for 2 weeks, Sedona, Arizona. If you've been there, it's like magical, spiritual, nature's amazing and uplifting.
Yes.
I went there for 2 weeks, and after about a week and a half, I was like, I'm not going back because it was more like freedom there. It was more like a normal life,
Mm-hmm.
and I was hiking mountains and really clearing my mind. I didn't know I was clearing my mind, but I
Mm-hmm.
was clearing my mind. And after a week and a half, I was like, I'm adding another week. A week and a week later, I added another week. And a week later, I added another. And a few months into it, I was talking to my mom on the phone, and she was like, "So, Danny, how long have you been out there?" And I was like, "I don't know, a couple months." She's like, "I
Yeah.
think it's been longer than that." And I looked and I checked it out. I was like, I'd been there 4 months. And along that path in Sedona, there was one week where there was no, I was staying at a timeshare resort, so I'd get a week at a time.
Hmm.
There was one weekend where there was nowhere to stay at resorts. There was no Airbnbs. For some reason, the whole city was sold out. I don't know why. And there's a place called Angel Valley that is
Hmm.
outside of Sedona. If you look up Angel Valley Sedona on Facebook, you can find uh, it's a love-based Sacred Heart Center. It's like a campground, but Archangel
Hmm.
Michael has a mountain. Uriel
Mm.
has a mountain. There's shrines for the angels. Uh, it's like the highest vibrate. Mm, I think it's the highest vibration place I've been on Earth, like
Wow.
for the way that it's set up. If you were looking at the land from a mile up in a helicopter or a drone shot,
Hmm.
the whole place is shaped like a heart, like a 2 mile heart. The
Oh,
road goes
wow.
around and the river goes around, and the trees on the river. It's like this amazing place. So I go stay in a cabin there for one night, and then the next night I meet a group of women who are on a retreat, and I'm just telling the exact story. I meet a group of women on a retreat, so I hang out with them the next night, you know. And
Yep.
I'm a single guy, so I'm just like, okay, we'll hang out with these beautiful women.
Uh,
But they were earth angels too, like beautiful women. They
mm.
were like my soul family, soul sisters. And
Hmm.
I'm talking to them late at night. We're at a campfire in Angel Valley, and one of them says, I heard about a book called The Book of Love by Jesus. And I just thought to
Wow.
myself, I want that book. And I've
Yeah.
I've heard on maybe YouTube videos or things like that that talk about like parts of the Bible that got removed or ancient
Hmm.
texts that were great for us, but they got taken out of society by whatever
Hmm.
powers, influences that be. I don't even like to say powers because they're dissolving anymore. But so she
True.
says
And
the
this
book of
is a good thing, by the way.
yes,
Sorry.
yeah. So she says the book of love by Jesus, and I was like, I want that book, you know. And I
Hmm.
said, well, do you have that book? And she said, well, I heard it got taken out of or destroyed from the Alexandria Library. Like, and
Hmm.
I figured that's in Egypt or something. And I said, well, do you have it? I thought maybe she had the secret scroll, right? And she's like, no. Uh, and I said, well, where could I get it? She said, I don't know. And then she says, I just remember her name's Valeria. She's beautiful. She's like my sister. She's the happiest person. She says, if you want it, you'll find it. And I just
That's
remember
true.
thinking, Jesus, I want that book. So I thought, I'd get some YouTube video or something sent to me by
Right.
a friend in the next few days. So the next morning I wake up, go for a run. I'm in Angel Valley. So I'm in like the wilderness out in the mountains. And I don't have a cell phone.
Hmm.
I don't have Wi-Fi. My girlfriend at the time, who lived in Florida, she couldn't reach me. So I was unplugged. Not
Hmm.
even from the distraction of looking at my phone 10 times a day, wondering what's in it. That's like distraction. So
Right.
I go for a run, go for a cold plunge in the creek, go back to my cabin, and then I took a shower and I sitting there and I start hearing words like a little whisper. And it's almost the way I describe it to people, it would be like if you said, I love you, you could say, I love you right now, like, I love
Hmm.
you, without your mouth. You could
Hmm.
say it in your mind, and it's a very
Yep.
subtle thing. That's the way the words were dropping in. And the words that dropped in exactly said, The Book of Love by Jesus the Christ, channeled by Daniel Prok. And then it said, My beloved, it is with great love that I share these ideas with you. And it's just this little whisper, and it kept dropping in. And I'm like, I'm Daniel Prok, and Jesus, I know Jesus, but, it's like, okay, what's coming in? And I'd never really,
Hmm.
I'm not a channel guy. I just had this message, so I felt like I should record it. So I pulled out my phone and a microphone, sat on the bed, and each word that dropped in, I just spoke it. I just spoke each word with my eyes closed, kept breathing in. And that's what I do when I get a message. I breathe to clear my human thinking and let my divine mind come in. So I get the whole message of the first chapter of the book, and and after it was done, I looked at the phone and it was like a 42-minute recording. And I'm an actor, if you're a speaker, we know if you go up and talk for 42 minutes and it all makes sense, it's like that's a long time to talk.
Yeah.
And I felt more love than I've ever felt in my life. It's like if you had
So beautiful.
a partner or loved one, like a girlfriend that I've had that I would melt with, a hugger I melt with. Imagine that times like 100 or 1,000, like, and just flow and just, And I remember I opened my eyes because when I got the message, my eyes are closed. So I opened my eyes, I look around in the cabin, and it's like the whole place is glowing just a bit. And I felt the love. And then I was going to get up because, it's almost like in a meditation, you feel bliss. You're like, And then you open your eyes and you're like, I start thinking and want to go do something. And it's like a little nudging inside me said, don't get up and start doing anything. You're supposed to feel this
Stay
love
there.
all the time. It's always inside you. It's always inside you. So I sat on the bed and I just breathed it in. And even telling the story gets me into that like vibration of love flowing through me. And I just milked it for about a half hour, just breathing it in. And then I got up and just took a few steps, and it was like the Book of Love by Jesus the Christ, channeled by Daniel Prok, chapter 2. Love is what you are. Or it was the next segment. So I got the next segment. And then, so I was in Angel Valley for like 3 days instead of one. And then I didn't know if I was getting another Bible or what I was getting. I was like, I better hang out in Angel Valley for a while. So the next day, I got the rest of the book. And then I started formatting it. And I met someone at a coffee shop, and she said she could help me publish it on Amazon. And I just thought it was this most beautiful book that I've ever read. More words about love than I've ever seen or read myself before, ever. And I thought that was it. But then about a month later, the Book of Light started dropping in. So, and that was still in Sedona. So I sat on my bed in a resort, and each message that came through, I recorded it. I spoke it and recorded it the way that I do. And after one chapter, I was like, I'm just getting the next one. I'll get the next one. So I got every chapter of that book in one day. And then it takes me a while to edit it. So, And then when I got back to La Jolla, it was the Book of Heaven. And then a few months later, the Book of Life. And there's also a declaration of heaven on earth. And the Great Awakening was the first message. And then, it's amazing. And even the part where the woman, Valerie, who told me about the Book of Love, her and Maribel, who were at the campfire with me, they speak Spanish. So they translated the Book of Love into El Libro del Amor, the Spanish translation. They did the translation. So it's really just a magical, miraculous story. And some stories, and I will just say, if I heard another person saying this, well, I'm into this stuff, actually. So if I heard another person saying this, I'd be like, cool, yeah, right on. I get it, because now I've lived some of it, but maybe 5 years ago, I might have had a different perception of someone else saying something like what I'm saying. Yeah, some things are remarkable, miraculous, spectacular, on the verge of unbelievable, and completely true. Completely true. So what happened is the truth, and I just let people know. Listen to the Book of Love. Read the Book of Love. If there's a more loving book, I haven't read a book that has more loving words and more of a teaching, poetically guiding us to realize the love that's always within. It's in our heart, it's in our soul, and it's in our mind. It is what we are. We are love. And then to recondition our mind and our perceptions and our reality to be loving and feel love and know love in every moment. It takes practice.
Yeah.
Takes practice.
I
Yeah.
love all of that. And I'm going to take a second, Daniel, to just say, if you're listening and you're having a hard time believing, what I encourage you to do is go listen to the Book of Love. So, Daniel,
Yeah.
what I love is like you just want to share your work with the world. So, you actually have a link where anyone listening or anyone out there can go get 3 free audiobooks, right?
Yeah, exactly. I have a Linktree link. So it's Linktree, linktr.ee/Dan Prok, DANPROK. I'm sure there's a link to it around this video. And
Yep.
also, if you went to my Instagram at We Love Brother Dan, there's a link always on there as well. So
Yep.
I made 3 of the audiobooks. I wanted them to be for free so everyone could just click and listen. I still listen to my own voice in these audiobooks because I need to keep purifying my mind. If I have a day or two where I'm frustrated about something, that's my mind being frustrated. And I need to, well, I'm choosing to stay more in my heart and my soul, breathe in,
Yes.
breathe in to stay with your breath and realize that there is peace in every moment. It's inside me. The
Yeah.
peace that we find in meditation is inside of us, so it's in every moment. It just depends on if we're experiencing it. And we can, because it's always there. Peace and love is always there, every moment.
Well, and you have choices. And I love how you talk about getting back into your heart and back into love because here in Nashville, there's a place I go, the Healing Society, and it's other healers. So I love going because we can have conversations like this, right? But there
Yeah.
was a presentation and it was like mind body connection. And then they were like, "Do you have any questions?" And at the end, I was like, "Yeah, where's the heart?" And they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, everyone's different. You might connect to your heart or your liver." And I was like, I don't know. When I learned to live in my heart, life just got so much better. Like when I got out of my brain into my heart, right? And it's what you're
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about, this like living in love. And it makes me sad because in the current day's world, so many people are missing this point about love and heart. And there's such a mental wall, even in some healing and alternative communities, to this idea of love and heart. And so, what I'd love to ask you is, what does it mean to you? And I know heaven on earth means a specific thing to you as well. So if you can kind of help, if someone's listening for the first time and they're like, yeah, I'm into mind body connection, what's this heart stuff? Let's kind of get into that a little bit.
This is perfect. Okay, so heaven on earth, and the books really talk about this in a way that we can understand. What would heaven on earth
Love it.
be to me as my humanness? As
Yes.
me as a human, how would I experience what would be heaven on earth? So when they mention mind body, those would be 2 aspects. And then there's your emotions. So I'll go through if when you can remember 5 things, it's simple. 5 things is heaven on earth. It's love, it's health, it's wealth, it's wisdom and freedom. As opposed to lack of love, lack of health, lack of wealth, lack of wisdom, lack of freedom. So there have been influences in my life, in the world, that have propagated lack of love, health, wealth,
Yep.
wisdom, and freedom. Okay, society, governments, whatever, all that stuff. So learning to stay in love, love would be your emotions, your emotional body. Health would be your physical body. When you mention mind body connection, your physical body being health. Wealth would be the physical world that you live in, would be wealth. Wisdom would be your mental body, your mind. Wisdom as opposed to lack of wisdom. And then freedom is your soul's expression. It's your divine birthright. It's also what you are. It's like a larger aspect of you.
Yep.
Freedom or lack of freedom. And so when we're living, and those are all high vibration aspects of those topics. And I like to talk about this in a way so we can unity, because it's all just one thing. It's all creation.
Right.
We are all one thing. We are all one. So within that, all of us, all 8 billion humans, and you can ask yourself, I'll just ask the question, do you want love or do you want lack of love? So that would be emotionally, do you want love? Love, joy,
Yep.
peace. Yes.
I'll take
Do you want
love.
health? Yeah, you'll take love. What about health or lack of health?
Yep.
What about wealth or lack of wealth? What about wisdom in your mind or lack of wisdom? What about freedom or lack of freedom? These are, the books talk about it. This is your divinity. This is your divine blueprint. The way that God created us to live as humans on earth would be to
Yeah.
live habitually, perpetually, constantly, chronically, love, health, wealth, wisdom, and freedom. Emotionally, we feel love and happiness and peaceful, and there's this wellness. Our body's healthy, our physical
Yep.
world is wealthy. We have a nice home, we have plenty, we have a nice car, we eat good foods, abundance, wisdom. We're getting divine ideas and guidance from God dropping in all the time, wise and free. We're all living freedom. So
Yeah.
we all want the same things in our own way, and we're all part of the same team. It doesn't matter what nation you're in, the color of your skin. We all want the same things: love, health, wealth, wisdom, and freedom. And if when you go really deeper into that, we all are these things. We are love. We are health. Health is our natural state of being. Wealth is a permanent construct of creation. They're not carting in other resources to the earth. All of this abundance that's happened is on earth. And then wisdom and freedom. So the books talk about these things and reinforce them in so many beautiful ways. So you learn it one way and another, and it's all poetic and beautiful. Yeah, so heaven on earth is it's a state of being. And I even say this, some people might have, like, they're like, I have a wealthy life, but there's not
Right.
as much love. Like they have one of those five areas might be strong, might be some less. You can also look at the world and say, is there anyone who is a loving person? Just to know that it's possible. Is there anyone who's healthy? Is there anyone who's wealthy? Is there anyone who's wise? Is there anyone who lives with freedom? Anyone. So even if as an individual we have like certain areas that we have less than, it's all possible that even say a wealthy person who is kind of rough around the edges and mean, they could be wealthy and loving. It might take practice. Someone who's loving but doesn't have as much wealth could be loving and wealthy. It's all possible. It's all happening all over the world. So as we come together, we can help each other to be more in those states of being: love, health, wealth, wisdom, and freedom. We help each other to raise our frequency and vibration, and then we live in that collective energy of heaven on earth, because it's a collective. It's a group of
Yes.
people that gets larger and larger, who believes in something beautiful and creates that for the whole world. So that's what we're involved with right now, is building that group of people. I know you're part of it, April. Marilyn's part of it big time. Yeah, and there's probably hundreds of other people that I know, that personally as well as through, YouTube or other videos or things like that, that
Yep.
teach wealth, they teach health, they teach those divine principles in their own way. And all those people as a unified group, we're creating heaven on earth. That's what I call it. We're creating heaven on earth together. Yeah.
Well, I love your explanation, because there are so many people who have resistance to one of these areas or multiple areas, just saying, oh, that's not for me, or I can't do that. And I love how you paint the possibility, because it's so interesting as my healing practice increased, because, I was kind of like your background. I was an attorney at a very prestigious law firm, like upper echelon law firm. And I went to two great schools, and it was always about your mind and what you could achieve and what the next step was. And now it's so funny. I laugh because my life is so different. But what's interesting is the more I got into love and the other, four elements, my brain has sped up. Like I really have to
Hmm.
get myself to speak like slower because I
Yeah.
operate at such a high frequency mentally.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I'm not trying to be mental, but when I need to tap into it, like it's just a buzzing. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. And I spent all that
Yeah.
time where,
Beautiful.
cultivating the mind was important. And I didn't reach the level I reached when I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on love. And then when you're speaking, like the freedom speaks to me because I think those of us, like, who are working to create heaven on earth, freedom is so important to us. Like I'm in touch with my soul and I know my soul just wants to run and heal people and be free and do whatever. And when you understand that, like freedom becomes so important and it's so counter to everything we're taught today. I think so many people
Yeah.
don't understand really kind of the cage that they've either built for themselves or have
Hmm.
allowed to be built for them. And, I just kind of articulate how this is played for me in hopes that people listening realize like, okay, we can resist these things, but they happen. And the other thing when I started healing is my health is absolutely like I don't get a cold, I don't have allergies, like I am never sick. There may be a day I didn't get enough sleep, that maybe my energy isn't great, but like you just and most of the healers I know practicing this, like we just don't get sick. That's just I'm sure I know
We're
you're very
healthy.
fit and healthy and people are like they think it's abnormal to never get sick. But like you said, that's
Right.
our true state and what we're supposed to
Yes.
be living. So I love that you tie all these five areas together because it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love everything that you're saying. Life is so beautiful. And in the Bible, there's a story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of
Mm-hmm.
Eden.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're talking about in the books of heaven on earth are really resetting the whole system to align with our divinity, which are those
Yes.
five elements: love, health, wealth, wisdom, and freedom, which is the way we were always meant to live, which also is available for everyone on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's resetting the whole matrix. That's the way I talk to some of my friends,
Mm-hmm.
the like spiritual ones who are like heaven
Yeah.
on earth, who know that we can, as a group of people, we can override any systems of manipulation, any
Yes.
whatever we think is out there that has programmed. And even the books talk about this, allude to it. They don't spend much time, but they'll say some things like there have been groups or like political figures of authority that you trusted that programmed society,
Mm-hmm.
strategically programmed people to believe in lack, disharmony, separation, division. Uh,
Yes.
like basically, they programmed us. And I don't want to go too much into this, but like America is one nation under God, indivisible.
Mm-hmm.
Indivisible, which means one.
Mm-hmm.
And then if anyone watches the news, they'll show, okay, here's the United States, and there's some red stuff, and there's some blue, the red states and
Yeah.
blue states. They just divided it. So whoever these theys are, they know what they're doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
really like it's a it's a planned manipulation of society. And now my awakening, which happened in
Yeah.
2020 with those lockdowns, it was so startling. I was like, this is BS. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
the news, I knew they were telling a embellished story. There was a problem, but
Mm-hmm.
they were steering society down these angles. And I was like, I know they're
Yeah.
manipulating. I know they're lying. I know. And then I
Yeah.
thought, well, when did this happen? And it's like, oh, it's been happening my whole life.
Yep.
It's been happening the whole time. So then I'm like, I'm awake.
Yeah.
And then if now I don't react to any story like that,
Mm-hmm.
and now I let it be, but now I actually give it zero attention, so it doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
It
It's.
doesn't exist. And I mentioned that just for a second for anyone who,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when we focus in on our beautiful life and our beautiful home and our beautiful family and our beautiful society and believe it's beautiful, and pray for our nation and pray for the world and pray for blessings, I just know there's people in every country who are doing what we're doing today. They're like, I want to eat some good
Yes.
food. I'm going to laugh with my friends. I want some money and I want
Enjoy life.
abundance. I want a nice home. I like these hobbies and I like these other things and I like having my career. We're all doing the same things in every
Yeah.
country. I just know it. And there's beautiful, wonderful people all over. Let the politics just dissolve and go because that's some made up thing. And connect with the people and let's create a
Yeah.
harmonious, beautiful, wonderful world because that's the truth. That's the truth.
So it's interesting. I guess I didn't even think of it in these terms then, but my awakening started in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina decimated my hometown. And I happened to be there visiting my parents. I was living in Italy at the time, and my now ex husband, who
Mm-hmm.
was in Italy, didn't know if I was alive or dead for 4 days. Like, that's how bad it was, right? And just experiencing that. And so it was a few weeks before we even saw news because we were in complete devastation. And really just worried about what we were eating and taking care of each other. But when I finally saw the news and saw what the news was presenting about Hurricane Katrina was completely different than the lived experience I had had. I haven't watched the news since 2005. I was just like, how
Good.
can this be such a lie? It was amazing to me. And a lot of people, it happened in 2020, a lot more. But, that
Yeah.
was, I think, the beginning of my journey of, okay, I don't trust everything I've been told, right? And, then it
Yeah.
showed up in different
Yes.
ways. And for me at that point, it was strictly the news. I was like, you know what? They just want to tell the sexier story. The real story isn't that sexy, and they want to tell the sexier stories so that people buy ads and keep them afloat because the news is a business, and
Right.
that's what most people
Yeah.
forget, right? And so for me, it was that simple, and it evolved over time. But I love that you bring that up because it's interesting in today's world, so many people, if they're not in this process, are addicted to their negative thoughts and their negative emotions. And we know, the negativity creates dopamine. And so it's a true
Mm-hmm.
addiction. And to understand that you can choose differently and you can rewire yourself differently and you can choose love and you can choose all of the five things you're talking about is so important. Sometimes you may hear that and it doesn't click till years later, but just
Yeah.
understanding that, it is an addiction, but you're choosing to stay in the negativity. And it was so interesting because my brother downloaded some things and I was staying with him over Thanksgiving for a week and we were kind of talking about these things. And he was telling me, this about the addiction to the negativity. And I was like, hold on. And I went and printed something that my spiritual teacher had downloaded, and they were both messages from God, and they said exactly the same thing, and they don't know each other.
Yeah.
So I just think right
Yeah.
now what you're
Beautiful.
talking about is so important, and it's the time. And whatever you believe in, it's important to speak your truth and to share it with others and
Mm-hmm.
not hide and not say, oh, you know what, this is how I am, but it's okay, which doesn't mean we're not tolerant of others and we don't show up in loving compassion. But, when you talk about in every country, there are people striving for the same things we are. I also believe in every day I practice self love, self forgiveness, and forgiveness and love of everyone else. Because if you think
Yeah.
about it, when you say who is the amorphous they creating the division, creating the
Right.
wars, right? Creating all of this,
Right.
if they found love and compassion, and let's add your five components, the world is beautiful. Like, we don't have war, we
So
don't have
amazing.
famine, we don't have all these
Right.
bad things. And so everyone wants to point the finger at the bad guys. And this is why the Bible says, love your enemies, because we're all the same. So I like to look at them as lost children that we have to bring back home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and maybe I don't have to bring, but if they see the light, the world becomes better. We don't have to do anything to fix things. We just need those believing and perpetrating the negative to realize that they can choose differently and come to the love.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful way that you put that. Because, yeah, it's important. I'll mention a couple things like that addiction to something negative or a negative thought. there's
Mm-hmm.
also things that influence those negative thoughts that are
Yes.
consumed.
True.
So realizing that you don't, what we focus on also expands and it becomes what we're giving energy to. So
Yes.
I think with news, I remember reading I think it was a 4 hour work week years ago, and they talked about the news and they said it's negative. They said just stop watching it for a week
Yeah.
and see if you miss anything. Just try it for a week. So I tried it for a week. I didn't miss anything. And then
No.
again and again. So I hadn't been watching it for a long time, but then certain things happened that would present a story to me from that
Mm-hmm.
source, and I've just learned to just like, oh, they're doing their thing again. Also,
Yeah.
the thing that you mentioned, let's pray for God to put it in the hearts and minds of all people on planet Earth to
Mm-hmm.
live with love and compassion and joy and peace and harmony and
Mm-hmm.
well-being. It's so amazing what has been created in this world,
Yeah.
even with these influences, the theys,
Right.
who put in systematic structures in governments and banks and all this stuff to keep people at some level lower
Mm-hmm.
than expanded. I was like,
Yeah.
and you could just walk around your neighborhood and see beautiful houses and see businesses and see economies and see things and new types of cars and new inventions, and all this has happened while humanity is like having to push through those manipulative structures and
Yeah, you're
still has
so true.
created something amazing. And I'm like, what if those influences decided, let's just empower society? They can still make money. They can make so much more money probably by having a thriving, empowered,
Mm-hmm.
abundant, meaning non-manipulated, non-restricted, non like the some of the systems that just make things complex when it should be simple.
Yeah.
Business should be simple. If you want to buy an apple, you buy an apple and that's it. Just some of the things that make it like this whole complex thing. It doesn't have to be complex. That system makes it complex. So
Yeah.
there's even more abundance even for some of those people. There would
Yeah.
even be more, and they would actually have friends and like have love in their heart.
Yes. I
Or
get you.
maybe they have friends, but I don't know. I don't know what kind of friendships they have. Maybe everyone in their group messes with each other all day long, and they think that's okay, but they're making money. So I don't know what they do, but yeah, there is the opportunity for healing and
Mm-hmm.
renewal and resurrection in the divine life that all of us are here on earth, and
Mm-hmm.
that would be a simple path. That would be a nice simple path to bring us all together. Now, in addition to that full path, another one is the people who already get it, like you and me and
Yep.
some of the people that we know, to come together and to form a collective of heaven on earth, a collective of uh, love, health, wealth, wisdom, and freedom,
Yeah.
and to know that we can create a whole new reality, not just for our personal life, but
Yes.
everything that we experience, every single thing that we experience in our reality. My reality is unique and yours is unique. No one
Mm-hmm.
actually experiences the same exact reality.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I just know. America, which is the country we live in, was created by 56 people who signed a document. They wrote
Yes.
out what they wanted, Declaration of Independence. They wrote out their manifestation document. They read it together, 56 people. They signed it, and they believed in something, and they created a whole new universe.
Mm-hmm.
America didn't exist.
Yes.
They were living in a land that was some other land, and they said, we're creating a new reality. And
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of years later, we're sitting here thinking America's so real. Heaven on earth is real.
Yeah.
Heaven on earth is real. Heaven on earth, and we can create whatever reality we want. We can override old realities or
Yep.
other realities can fit within our reality rather than us
Mm-hmm.
thinking we fit in to that reality. So I just know 56 people signed the Declaration of Independence. A small group of people can sign the declaration of heaven on earth and believe in something beautiful. And we invisibly, energetically create a collective
Mm-hmm.
thought. We can't see it with our eyes, but that's where you have to have a higher level of understanding, is to understand a group of people that believe in something are creating a
Mm-hmm.
collective thought that can't be seen with our eyes, but it's so
Yep.
real that it can create peace on earth, peace for everybody.
Yeah.
Because you've heard of the Maharishi effect, haven't you? A small group of people can meditate on peace and create peace
Yes.
in a whole region.
Yep.
So a small group of people can believe in something beautiful, or can start a business or social movement, or create a new whole country or a whole new reality.
Yeah.
Small group of people. And it goes into like Malcolm Gladwell's the tipping point, or creating
Mm-hmm.
a like an energetic trend in society. It's all related. So I just
I
know we
agree.
have a really bright future.
I haven't heard it. I didn't. I didn't relate that term to that, but yes, they did that study in D.C. where like people around the city prayed and meditated for a day, and we know, how bad crime-wise D.C. is, and crime across the city they studied was down 60% that day. It was really crazy. And then I love the book Power versus Force, which talks about, as an
Yeah.
individual, when you raise your frequency, you actually raise the collective frequency on earth. And as you're talking about, when you come together as a group and raise your frequency, it does start raising the frequency for everyone else as well. So I love these ideas. And, when you were talking about coming together as a group, if you're listening, most people listening to this podcast, they're mostly women and they run a business, right? So what if you just started by creating that environment in your home, in your business, in your community? The challenge and the beauty of being a woman in today's world is you're usually the foundation of your home, the foundation of your, family, your business, your community. And so it really can start with you. And I just want to take a moment when we talk about love. That's why self love is so important, because if you're not practicing self love, then how can you really be a vessel or a gift of love to those around you, right? So as women, we tend to give, 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 and do. And the feminine energy is actually to receive and rest. So I just want to take a moment to
Yeah.
challenge
Right.
our
Yeah.
listeners. How are you receiving? How are you resting? These different entities that you create the foundation for, you're a leader. How can you, even just starting with love and collaboration over competition, right? It really can. It changed your business a lot. And that's why for the Vixen Gathering, I have huge financial goals for the company, because I want to show that you can run a company with these principles and still be financially, do well. And that's exactly what you were talking about, wealth, right? I don't really care. There's only so
Yeah.
much I need. Let's be honest. My life is
Yeah.
pretty great. I don't really need a whole
Yeah.
lot more, but there's so many people that have maybe abundance mentality around love or health, but they have scarcity around wealth. And I love that you're pointing out that it's a part of the puzzle. We are divine beings. We're spirits put in human form to enjoy Earth. So, what are we doing to enjoy Earth, which really adds to its beauty and adds to the purpose that we're all here for? And I think you touched on joy, peace, and love. It's just so important.
Yeah. They're all parts of life, and
Mm-hmm.
wealth, it's a permanent construct in creation. And it's the book of life actually has a section in it about wealth.
Okay.
The book of life has specific sections on love, health, wealth,
Mm-hmm.
wisdom, freedom, also light and beauty and glory. So there's a chapter in there on wealth, and it talks about wealth being a permanent construct in creation, and it's a state of being and a state of consciousness. And also, the earth is denser energy than that of the heavenly realms. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a use of your willpower, focus, determination, persistence, those types of things, because of the way that the energy forms, and it is the way that we turn our thoughts into things in this earth. There's
Right.
something where sometimes it takes some muscle. And also there's a flow factor too. We can
Yeah.
flow, and then to me, there's like a mix between
It's a
being in
push and a
flow
pull.
state.
I agree.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you're rolling down the river, just la 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 la, and then you see an
Yeah.
opportunity, and you might go whoosh, and you're just like, let me get in there. I'm gonna talk to that person, or yeah. So, and sometimes you gotta like focus, 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 focus. So yeah, wealth is a very important part of it, and I know that's part of the way that we were created to live a wealthy,
Mhm.
abundant life. Yeah.
I agree. So, what I'd love to hear, Dan, is how do you get yourself realigned? Because in reality, you and I live in very human world, right? Like it's wonderful that we
Yeah.
want to create heaven on earth, but not everyone around us has the same mission. So, if you feel kind of pulled out of it, what do you do to get yourself rebalanced or back in this frequency?
I'll mention a few things. One
Okay.
is if I sense that I am not feeling well, meaning my emotions are down, maybe there's a
Mm-hmm.
frustration, I'm upset about anything, maybe I react to something someone says. A lot of breathing into my heart, like breathe in, like
Mm-hmm.
deep breaths to stay at peace, because that peace is always in us. And even now, for people who are watching or listening, if you just breathe in, take a breath and go, hold it and breathe out like ah. A few breaths can just calm the mind. The mind just goes like ah, like relaxes, and the peace and love that's always in us, it's just there again. So breathing into my heart is important. I also exercise. I love to
Mm-hmm.
exercise. I swim in the ocean, go for walks. Spending time in nature is
Yeah.
really like amazing. There's something happens when I walk on the beach or walk by a mountain, or even just walk down the street, look at a tree. Something about the
Mm-hmm.
geometry, the vibration, the energy, all of it. It's just like my mind's just like, ah, okay, life's fine. life's
I
it's all
agree.
good. And the earth was created for us like that. Nature's a beautiful tool. Nature will help you heal. Listening to good music can enhance my
Mm-hmm.
state of being. And a lot of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness of how I'm thinking about what I'm seeing. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what I see, hear, touch, taste, and
Mm-hmm.
smell. Am I Do I see something or hear someone say something, and then am I perceiving it as positive or negative when really
Mm-hmm.
it could be either?
Mm-hmm.
Or
It's
maybe it
true.
just is. Maybe it just is, because in the book of life it talks about this also. It says life is, life exists. Life has no meaning or given meaning or definition except the
Mm-hmm.
meanings and definitions we give it. So
Yeah.
everything we see, hear, touch, taste, and smell simply is. That is, and then that is wonderful, that is
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, that is terrible. That's my definition. But it
Yeah.
simply is, because someone next to me could have a different definition. So those are some things that I do to stay in balance. Um, I also listen to the books of heaven on earth. That is one of my tools. I'll listen to any of them or read any of
Yeah.
them, and it's like it gives my mind some peace of mind. I wanted to read
Mm-hmm.
a little part of the Book of Love.
Oh, go for it.
I wanted to read part of, yeah, so because then it'll give everyone a sample of how these words came through me. This is chapter 3 of the Book of Love. God's love is beyond measure. God's love is beyond measure, but the love that you experience in this lifetime is more like a glass of water. When you are thirsty, you drink from the glass and it quenches your thirst, but soon enough life happens and you are thirsty again, looking to fill up that glass of water once more. While all the while there is an ocean that is deep and vast and has all the water one could ever want or need or desire. But living in your current vibrational frequency condition, you are unaware of the ocean with that everlasting supply. You have access to this ocean of love. The love that you experience has no ending in the ways that it can manifest in your reality. But to continue your life seeking a reason to love, looking for someone to love, needing an experience that feels like love, all these things are a part of the experience of conditional love that you have grown so accustomed to. But the more that you become aware of and tap into the permanent loving vibration at the core of your being, the love within your heart, the love within your soul, the love within your Christ consciousness, you move from living in that cycle where you thirst and then seek, need, and desire to have that thirst quenched. When the ocean of God's love is right there in your heart all along, is right there in your divinity, is right there at the core of your being. You have never been separated from it, and it is so vast that you cannot even fathom the immensity of the love that God has for you and has for all of creation. Love beyond measure means love that could not be measured by any means of calculation. And then it continues. So, and that goes back to what you had mentioned about living more in your heart.
Yeah.
The love is always in us. It's there in every moment. So when I read something like that, it's retraining my mind. I know that's really what it's doing. It's retraining my mind to align with my divinity, retraining my mind to align with love. It's kind of like if someone, I'm thinking of an analogy. If someone threw the ball underhanded or something, and someone was like, until they're like 20, they just threw underhanded. And then someone's like, hey, throw overhanded, you can whip it way faster. They'd have to learn a new way of doing things. So our mind is actually learning a new way of doing things because society and our families and friends and all sorts of things taught us ways to look at life and ourselves, like love. Like, do we even love ourselves, to the self-love? Someone might have taught us that I didn't know I should love myself until about 10 years ago.
Right.
I was I was like, love myself. I was like, I know I should love God and Jesus and like love other people, but love myself? Is that okay? That feels weird, and I didn't know. And then that was when I first realized I didn't even love myself. And then years later, someone said, okay, look at yourself in the mirror, look at your own eyes and say, I love you. He said, do it for 2 minutes. This is a guy about 8 years ago. He's like, look in your eyes and say, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And just see what comes up. And I remember it felt weird for me saying, I love you to myself in the mirror, felt uncomfortable. And then I started crying. I was like, like all this. And I needed to purge that out. And now I can look at myself in the mirror, look in my own eyes and say, I love you. You're beautiful. God bless you. You're magnificent. You're God's masterpiece. And the books say those types of words too. You are God's masterpiece. You are God's perfection. God only makes perfect things. And God made things so perfectly that if you believe they're imperfect, then you're going to create imperfection.
Yeah.
Your belief in imperfection creates more imperfection. Your beliefs in lack create more lack. But the belief works perfectly. God made this whole reality to work perfectly. So that's why it's so important to think positive thoughts, have positive perspectives on ourselves. Believe even something like believe your imagination more than what you see. Like Walt Disney believed his imagination and then created Disneyland and created all these Disney movies and all this Disney. He imagined it and then saw it. It's believe in your imagination more than what you see and then create your imagination. Create that as your new reality. And that's part of it too. So,
I love that. And, what I loved about the chapter you read is I talk about my life becomes so much better and magical when I surrender every day. And surrender is a triggering term for especially a lot of women, right? But I feel when you were reading that chapter, I was like, that's what surrendering is, realizing the ocean's right there, that I'm not just a
Yeah.
cup of water, that I am the ocean,
Yeah.
right? And I mean,
Yeah.
every day it's like, Jesus Christ, I surrender my life to you, take care of everything. And it doesn't mean I don't show up and do what I have to do, but I just trust that like the best is going to come of what's happening.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
because yeah, I don't really look at news. People will be like, oh, like so many times people will be like, are you okay? Like a tornado just hit Nashville. And I'm like, oh, it did? Like, I mean, I really am like, oh, it
Yeah,
did?
I know.
Okay. Because
I know.
I,
I know. I'm like, yeah, I haven't thought of that for years. Yeah, I know. I know.
yeah, because you just trust. And I know that
Yeah.
God and my intuition and my heart's going to show me what I have to do. And it really eradicates fear. And living fearlessly becomes so beautiful, right? Like, to me, fear is the opposite of love. Like, hate is not the opposite of love. Like, fear is actually the opposite of love, I feel, because it stops us from doing things. So, yeah, no, I love that. And I was going to share when I realized I didn't love myself was at a Tony Robbins event of all things, the one where you walk
Yeah,
on the
great.
coals. But like,
Yeah.
that was the beginning of it. That was like my personal growth. And then I got into spiritual growth. And he said, you had to hold your hands like you were holding a little baby. And he was talking to you about how beautiful the baby was and loving it. And then he was like, the baby is you. And same as you, I just started bawling because I realized I didn't feel that kind of love for myself that I would feel for like a stranger's baby that I just thought was precious and perfect and wonderful. And that was
Yeah.
kind of my eye opener when so many times you do just bawl when you have these realizations. And I like to say, when I'm
Yeah.
overcome with tears, it's me getting in touch with my soul, and really connecting. And that's beautiful. So Dan,
That is
I know,
beautiful.
oh,
Yes.
thank you. You and I could
Oh, and
go
I
on
just I just
forever.
happened to, and right when you said that, I happened to see the time and it said 55:55.
There you go.
That's how long we had been recording. 55:55. Perfect.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, everyone, please, please go listen to at least one of these books. You're going to dig into all of them once you do. Know that you are God's greatest creation. You are love. You are worthy of love and to love yourself. And Dan, I'm just going to ask, I think our conversation was so beautiful and you shared so much. There's not much more for me to add, but what message would you like to part with our audience?
I'd love to say something to add to what you said a couple minutes ago.
Please.
And also, please, within that link that has the 3 audiobooks, you can get that. And then also, all the books are available on Amazon.com. And there are 2 more books that I got the downloads that I'm formatting. There'll be 2 more
Yes.
books coming too. So get those books, share those books, and just see how those books bless you, and try and connect with me through social media. Find me on Instagram or Facebook. Look up my name, or We Love Brother Dan. That's my Instagram page. So having said that, God loves everyone so much. Like the way that you were holding yourself as the baby, God is looking into all of our eyes constantly at all times with such an adoring gaze,
Yeah.
like the way that you would look at a newborn baby and you would say, wow, that baby, you just feel it, you know it, there's that love for that baby. God loves us that much, and probably infinitely more, and wants the best for us, wants the best for us as individuals, as families, as a world, as like all societies. And God sees us as perfect and God's masterpiece. And all of us are on different paths that are somehow intertwining into this most magnificent
Yes.
creation of a larger collective, which has all of us utilizing our special gifts. Every one of you listening and watching, you have a beautiful gift to share with the world, a God-given gift. You probably have many of them. And you are an integral part of the creation of all that is. God only makes perfect things. God only makes masterpieces. God only makes perfection. And God only makes unique, wonderful things. You are beautiful and glorious. God only makes beautiful and glorious things. So see yourself that way, and also condition your mind to see the world that way. Because when you say, my life is beautiful and glorious, it will become beautiful and glorious.
It's
And
true.
I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you. I want you to be blessed and like abundant and experience the wondrous gift of life in so much abundance and prosperity and love, and to live in the full embodiment of those divine principles. Love, health, wealth, wisdom, and freedom for you and me and everybody in heaven on earth.
Oh, Dan, thank you so much. So, for everyone listening, I'd love to hear from you. You can watch us on YouTube, drop your comments below. You can reach out to us, team at Vixen Gathering, or you can join my Facebook group, Abundant Business Women. I love to get your feedback. As you know, always let us know, how can we make a difference in your life? What do you want to hear about? And please go listen to the Book of Love, the first book, and get yourself hooked so you can listen to all of them. And when you need a little lift, it's there, right?
Yes.
I love listening because it's just like a beautiful poem. It's a meditation, a prayer to me. So I love listening to them, but they're available in books as well. So enjoy that. And just remember, how can you show up in love today? Love yourself and love everyone you come into contact with. Just try it for one day and see how your day changes. Thanks so much for joining us. And Dan, thank you so much for being here. I know you show up 150% when you're there, and I appreciate it. So thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much. I loved being here. Love you very much, and love everyone. God bless you.
All right, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, and don't be a stranger. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so future episodes are automatically downloaded directly to your device. And if you want access to today's show notes, including links to all the resources we mentioned, visit vixengathering.com/podcast. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week for another episode of The Vixen Voice.